or that clammy feeling when you've got sweaty palms because you've got a presentation to give. And if it's your first one, it can be pretty terrifying. I've been doing it for a while, so I thought I'd share my hints and tips on how you can make your presentation a success and maybe get rid of those clammy nerves. Hi, my name's Connor McDonald. I've been working in IT for, rather not say, maybe 30 years now, and a lot of that time I've been doing presentations. I actually quite enjoy doing it, but I understand if you're doing it for the first time or it's your first few presentations, it can be a pretty nerve-wracking experience, especially if public speaking isn't something that you cherish or really seek out. The first thing I'd say is that public speaking is a real skill. It's a great bonus to have in your skill repertoire, especially in my industry, which is the IT industry, where the sort of the cliched persona of an IT professional is someone who sits in their cubicle and doesn't really socialize with anyone, let alone give a public presentation. So if you're in such a field where public speaking is seen as a bit of a rarity, having that relaxed stance and being able to enjoy public speaking could be a real skill for you and a real bonus in terms of advancing your career. And I should say, one thing I've seen certainly in Australia, and I wouldn't be surprised if it happens around the world, is my son, from a very early age, started learning public speaking in the classroom. So the next generation of professionals in whatever field you work in will also probably be skilled in public speaking, because nowadays we've realized it's a good thing to teach children from a very early age. So how does one go from being terrified of giving a presentation to really enjoying it and treating it as something, as a privilege to share some knowledge and information with your audience? For me, there's only 4 things you really need to worry about to actually nail your public presentation. When it comes to giving a talk, it's pretty 4 simple things that I've relied on to help me get by. And don't get me wrong, sometimes some presentations I've given I reckon I've absolutely nailed, and other times they didn't, they fell a bit flat and I wasn't particularly happy with them. Either way, whether you're giving a talk to 10 people or 100 people or even thousands of people, the same rules that I apply I think can help you and getting over that nervousness and anxiety about giving a talk. The first one is being an expert. Now, immediately people start to panic. They say, I'm not an expert in my field, therefore I should never give a presentation. That is exactly not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about being an expert in what you are going to deliver, your actual content, not even the topic you're talking about. Being a subject matter expert in the topic obviously helps. So does experience with the actual topic you're talking about. But when I talk about expertise, I'm talking about the one thing that you can be an expert at that no one else in the room will be able to, and that is the actual content of your presentation. Whether it's PowerPoint or Word or whatever medium you're using, even just the spoken word, if you are super familiar with what you're going to talk about in terms of the flow, the timing, what sentence will follow the previous one, how you're going to move from this particular subtopic onto the next one, how you're going to draw conclusions or prove your assertions, if you know that really well, then you can talk to it very easily. You're much more relaxed. You have a much more conversational style with the audience, and that gets them in, that drags them in, because suddenly they're having a discussion with you, they're having a conversation. They feel more at ease, so they'll be more interested. If you look ill at ease because you're unfamiliar with the flow of the conversation, then they start to feel a bit more ill at ease as well. And that brings me to my next one, and that is honesty. Being honest is everything in a presentation. The audience will see through you if you're trying to pull the wool over their eyes, so to speak. I work in the IT field, and being honest is critical in terms of having that good, meaningful dialogue with the audience. I get to work with various software products, and if I love them, I'll tell the audience that, and I'll explain why I have a big positive relationship with those particular products. But if I don't like a product, rest assured, an audience will see through you if you get up there and you're somewhat spruiking them or trying to sell them to them. You're effectively saying, I think this product is fantastic, when deep down you don't feel so. Audiences see straight through that because you lose that honesty with yourself, and that very quickly projects out into the audience. Honesty counts for everything in a presentation, even when you don't understand the topic. The best answer to a question that you don't know the answer to is pretty simple. I don't know. If you can, you'll offer to go find out for that particular attendee what the answer would be, but never ever lie to your audience. They'll spot it a mile away. If you're honest and you don't know something, your audience will forgive you always. Number 3 is loving the entire experience.
I live for this.
So what do I mean by that? Number 1 is love the topic you're talking about. That's super important. If you're not really invested in what you're talking about, the audience will very quickly lose interest, because effectively you've walked out there without the level of interest that they deserve. I sometimes see content prepared by one person and that needs to be delivered by someone else. Unless those two people have a really good working relationship, that's generally a recipe for disaster when it comes to presentations. Because how do you have that investment in content that you didn't prepare or you didn't prepare with? It's very, very hard to do. Sometimes it works, but most of the time it doesn't. It's super important that you love the content you prepare and you love delivering that content because you have a real investment in it. Also, loving the entire presenting experience is important. If you walk out on stage and you are petrified, the audience will desperately try to support you through that because they want to get a good experience out of this as well. But you need to meet them halfway. If you walk out onto the stage for your presentation and you're thinking, yes, this is a chance to share my knowledge with an audience, not being an expert and talk down to them, but to share my knowledge with the audience such that as one we can all move on and grow together, the audience will reward you for that and they'll love it along with you. And the last one I'll talk about is practice. Obviously, practice matters. I'm lucky enough to have been doing public presentations for many years, and so I probably do less practice than I used to, but it still helps even when you've been doing it for a long time. And I want to clarify what I mean by practice. You'll see a lot of websites or blogs or videos that talk about where you should hold your hands and how much you should move them and whether you should talk to a mirror to do practice and see what you're doing, etc. All of that I think is sound advice, but I think the real concept of practice is actually just going through your own talk, your own workflow, your own thoughts over and over and over again. When I'm doing a talk with PowerPoint slides, if I don't get a chance to actually practice in front of a mirror, which I rarely do nowadays, what I'll do is I'll just flick through the slides and visualize what I'm planning on saying. Even if I'm talking about some of the humorous aspects of this talk, I'll think about how will I actually project these across, what intonation will I use. Even just visualizing the practice, the actual presentation itself will actually help you. It helps you get that nice flow going that I spoke about beforehand, such that you'll be managing your time, managing the content, and managing the interaction with the audience as if you'd already done it before, even if it's your first time. So, in a nutshell, honesty, expertise in your own content, loving the experience, and practice. That is all the help I reckon you need. If I've fixed your clammy hands, I'm thrilled, but if not, please enjoy your presentation anyway. You might get a real taste for it, and it's a really good skill to have. Have fun.